Hi there, I'm Amy, or AWayfaringFrog, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. This is actually going to be my first video of 2025, so Happy New Year to everyone as well. I hope you all are having a good one. And so this first video of 2025 is going to be another speed build, and it's actually one that I did quite a while ago. It was before Life and Death even came out, so it's not actually the first build of the year, but it is the first speed build. I just really wanted to use the Cozy Bistro Kit a while back. It was definitely after Love Struck came out, but I can't remember when exactly, how long it had been since it was out. I just really fancied doing something with the Cozy Bistro Kit. So as you can see, I've started using that here, and I went for this kind of pale blue swatch, which I thought was a lot of fun. The only other build that I've done with the Cozy Bistro has been the really dark green, which is probably my favourite swatch. So I wanted to do something a bit more pastel this time, and I thought it would be fun to do a cat cafe. So whilst we can't really have cat cafes in The Sims 4, we do have cafes with the Get Together expansion pack, and then when you've got cats and dogs as well, there are some lot traits that you can apply to different lots that just mean Sims with cats come to this particular lot more often, or cats will just like spawn more often in the world and things like that. So I applied those to the version that is also uploaded onto the gallery. And if you do like the lot, you can just download that from the Sims 4 gallery using my EA ID, AWayfaringFrog. And as always, the information for that is in the description down below. I went ahead and placed this in Paddywack's Emporium lot, which is within Magnolia Promenade, the world that came with the Get to Work expansion pack. So it's more of just a retail space. I thought it fit quite well here, and the only other place I thought it might work really nicely was potentially Brightchester, but I think that's where I built my last cafe when I had a go at doing the roost from Animal Crossing, so I just wanted to do it in a different space this time, and I thought that the pink trees in the background went nicely with the pastel colours that I've got on this particular build. But at this stage, I've pretty much got the exterior sorted. I did just shrink the main part of the build. It felt too wide after a while and it just looked a bit wrong, so I figured it would be nicer to have it be a little bit skinnier, and it's actually easier to fill out on the inside later on. It ended up being quite big, so it was a bit difficult to be able to fill up all of the spaces, especially because on certain community lots, I don't like it when your Sims have loads of spaces to walk around because it just takes too long for them to navigate and route through the space. So I was kind of conscious of that and trying to not make it too big. Due to where I end up having the floor plan as well, there is a bit of a weird room where it's just kind of a long corridor, and it's on the section that juts out to the right hand side, the two-story part. On the lower floor, and due to where the stairs went, I ended up just cutting that section off, so it's a 3 by about 7 long room. So it's kind of a weird, longish, skinny room, and I didn't really know what to have it to be. So it does end up being a bit of a hallway space, but I put in a few of the games tables, I think the ones from Growing Together. So there are things that your Sims could do there, so it makes it at least a bit more useful. And then the area with the sunroof on is the main area for the cats, but because the whole inspiration is for this to be a cat cafe, there's plenty of cat toys and cat beds and condos everywhere throughout the entire build. But I wanted that to be kind of the main space for them to hang out. Watching this back myself as well, I already really want to do another build with the Cozy Bistro Kit. I think it's just such a fun one. I really love all of the items in it. They're so nicely detailed. And I found out that this little base game fence that I've added for the planter areas actually matches really well with the gold accents on the Cozy Bistro items. So I did go ahead and line all of my little landscaping areas with this. Since it's a community lot, I didn't go too mad on the landscaping. I just add in a few trees here and there, and I grabbed the little tree box that's in the base game debug a bit later to be able to dot a few of those around. There's also this big circular planter box from, I think it's Growing Together. I'm pretty sure I end up including that in the build a bit later, just to add a bit more dimension to it and everything. So it helped fill out the lot. So here are those little tree cages that I mentioned. They're such a useful item, and these little base game trees fit in really nicely. So they're the ones that have been added into Magnolia Promenade around in this world. So it helps tie in the place quite nicely. And then I added a bit of a bike rack here. The bike rack itself is the debug item from For Rent, I think it was. And then I think I just put a few bikes from, there might be some debug ones from For Rent as well as the actual functional ones from Growing Together. And then there was that big planter box that I mentioned just on the left hand side, which fit that much bigger tree in. So I think that helped break up a lot of the lot space and just fill it in quite nicely. I do also end up adding a bit of an outdoor area just outside of that covered glass area where I mentioned that most of the cats will probably hang out there. So there's nice seating outside for your Sims on sunny days, but otherwise there's plenty of space indoors for them to sit. I think as well I did end up building this a little bit backwards from memory just because the lighting on this lot was a little bit funny. So I probably will switch that out a little bit later on. I really don't like landscaping when it's on kind of a shaded lot and none of the different lights help brighten up the space. So I usually just rotate it. But here I've just switched that around and then started adding in some fairy lights over that covered space that I mentioned for seating outdoors. And I used one of the walls from For Rent as well, alongside a few pillars, just to help make it look a little bit more structured and to cover up these wooden poles. I'm just not really a fan of how they look in most spaces, and it doesn't really make sense to have a wooden pole sticking out of a concrete fence. So I went ahead and added in these blue, I think, are they base game? Oh no, I think they're from Get Together. Those kind of square columns. They're the most useful one in the game, I think. I use the white swatch of those pretty much everywhere to line buildings in so many of my builds. So I really love those. I wish we had a much more plain type of pillar in the base game. Maybe one day they'll add that in, that would be really nice. But now with the landscaping over, we're onto finishing the outside area, and I just love this pale blue swatch on these chairs. I think it's so pretty, and I included one of the plaid tables with a nice tablecloth on there. So it's just so bright and I think it's really cute. So hopefully you agree. Be sure to let me know what you think of the build in the comments down below. And I have had a few requests already for builds that people have wanted me to do. There's been a couple of Animal Crossing themed ones, and a few people now have mentioned that they want me to renovate Vlad's mansion. So don't worry, they are still on my list. I had a go at renovating Vlad's mansion before Christmas, actually. I didn't record anything though, because I thought this is going to be a horrible task. I don't want the anxiety of feeling like I'm being watched with the recording. So I just messed around, and honestly, I think I spent 2 hours achieving not a lot. So I've got kind of an idea of how I want to do it. It was more just playing around and like troubleshooting ideas, but oh, it's such a horrible build. I honestly don't think I can renovate it without just completely changing the entire shape. Usually I try to maintain the original structure so it looks like the same house, but just neatened up, maybe shrunk in a few areas or made bigger. But Vlad's house, honestly, it just basically the entire thing needs to be redone. I just really don't like the shape of it. So I've been struggling with that, but I promise I am working on it and I haven't forgotten. But if there are ever any builds that you want me to have a go at renovating, or any types of build that you just want to see in the channel in general, be sure to let me know in the comments. I always love hearing your thoughts, and it's just great to hear the kinds of things that you want to see. I'm still such a little baby channel, but I'm trying, and I hope that you're all enjoying the content that I've been putting out there. I was actually really happy to see before New Year's Day I actually managed to reach 250 subscribers, so that was really great. It's the halfway on the subscriber count to the first milestone of actually becoming a YouTube partner. So that was really exciting. So I'm very thankful for anyone who watches any of my content. Thank you so much for your support. And so if you haven't already, make sure you like this video just to help out the channel. Hopefully it hits a few more people's algorithms. I would really appreciate it. But as you can see now, I've just started decorating the main area of the cafe. So this is where the countertop will be. I hate this counter so much though. You'll have probably just watched me fiddle around with that corner where it kind of sticks out in some places, but it's not totally flush. I hate everything about it. And it's a bit too tall for the windows from the Cozy Bistro Kit, so I've pulled it away from the wall. I think I end up scooting it backwards a bit later on. And I don't remember how I ended up dealing with it, just because I hate how it looks in general. And it's the only one that we can use in the game. Sadly, Get Together didn't come with many options if you want to have a cafe in The Sims 4, so I did my best with it. But I think it matches decently well with all of the Cozy Bistro stuff, so it works. It's just such a funny shape, and I wish we had more options for it. And then upstairs, I included a little bit of a sofa space here. I think there's mostly sofas across both of these rooms, so there's more kind of a private area for your Sims to sit and play with the cats. I did struggle a bit with layout initially, so I cut most of that out, and these sofas aren't actually accessible by your Sims, I don't think. They're the ones from, well, they're from the kit, and I vaguely remember that when I play tested this, as with the other cafe that I've done where I used those, they can't actually sit on those sofas because of the table, but you also can't move the table because it snaps to the sofas. So I do end up adding some chairs later on, but for now I just jump back to the bathrooms for a little bit, and they're basically just copy and paste on each side. These Riviera retreat curtains, which are another item that I love. That kit came out at the same time as Cozy Bistro, and that's honestly still one of my favourite kits as well. I feel like there's a theme though. All of my favourite kits are the more recently released ones, so I don't know if The Sims are just getting better at creating their content, or if I'm just biased because new stuff is more exciting. But I really do like that one. I think there's a lot of fun items in it. And one of my favourite ever builds, which I've done. I did it around when I first started this YouTube channel, so it does have my old mic. But if you wanted to have a look at that, that is the Riviera Resort build that is on my channel if you were interested. I think it's such a fun build. I really had fun doing that. It's just such a crazy pool shape. I don't really know where the inspiration came from. I was just playing around in live mode, not even planning to record, and then I started building out of nowhere and came up with that. So it was a really fun one. I do love a good spontaneous build. I think they're often the best as well, so it's always nice when you have a burst of inspiration. But now we're back into the main kind of upstairs bedroom, or upstairs room for the guests here. And I just added in this cat tree, which kind of matches the aqua vibe that's going on with the colour scheme. I really don't like the cat trees in The Sims 4 though. I think they're a little bit ugly. I don't know what it is about them. I think they're just a bit too big. So I did my best. I did make sure to include them, of course, because it felt like it wouldn't be a cat cafe without cat condos. And then these shelving units that I've put above the archway into this room and then just above the cat condo, I kind of envisioned that the cats could walk up those in my mind. So I put a few toys up there and things, and obviously the cats in game don't tend to jump on shelves. I think if they're ever on a shelf, it's probably a glitch. But just from a make-believe point of view, I thought it would be fun to include those, and I see those a lot in cat cafes, at least the few that I have been to in the past. And then the room outside of that where the stairway walks into, or opens up into, that is very similar, same kind of furniture. I do end up using some of the armchairs from the Lovestruck expansion. I think the swatches match really well with this kind of aqua colour that I've got going on. That rug that's currently in this room as well is from that pack. So there are a lot of good colours that you can combine with other packs, which is fantastic because I feel like there's quite a few packs where that's not possible. I did trial using yellow for a bit though, but I think I switched that out later, so that will change. Also, if you're still watching the video at this point, first of all, thank you very much. I'm glad you're enjoying it this much to still be here. But also, I thought it might be about time that I plug some of my social media accounts because I don't think I've ever mentioned those on a video. And particularly with Blue Sky, which I joined fairly recently, ever since I decided Twitter was a bit too toxic for me, so I left that. And yeah, if you were ever interested in seeing sort of just random things that I tweet or pictures of builds that I'm working on, be sure to have a look at my Blue Sky and Instagram. The links for those are just in the description of each video down below. In some of my older videos, there might still be links for my Twitter account, which is open, but I don't check it. So I wouldn't recommend following me there because I'm never going to post. But yeah, otherwise, feel free to reach out and say hi. If you ever download one of my builds and play in it and have some screenshots of what you get up to, I'd absolutely love to see it. I think that would be loads of fun. So yeah, hopefully I get to see a few of you over there. But now we have changed the cat condos back to the aqua colour. As much as I love the colour pastel yellow, it just wasn't working, so I think these work a lot better. I also made sure to add a woohoo spot because I think it's always useful in game, depending on who's going to different community lots. So I grabbed the cupboard item from Lovestruck, so you can just see that next to the stairs. I think from memory there was a bit of an issue with playtesting that one. It doesn't look like it, but your Sims basically need to be able to access both squares or grid squares of that item. So you can see that it's a 2x1 size, but the door is only on a 1x1 section, but they need to be able to access the bit next to the door as well. I think the Sims just stand there together before they kind of climb into it. So I did have to move a few things around because I think I end up adding a plant there. So I can't remember if I completely got rid of the plant or if I just scooched it to the side. But that does move so that the item becomes accessible for you. I was also just thinking about where I put the litter trays, and I can't remember if I've done it already, or maybe I cut it out of the speed build if I haven't. But basically there's a bit of a hallway that you walk into before you go into either of the two bathrooms. And I essentially cut a small section of that hallway off and put kind of a litter box either end of it, and then just, I think I added just a tiny little door for the cats to be able to walk through. So you can't empty those litter trays, but I placed the ones that have lasers so you don't need to. At least from memory, I think that's what I did. I might have already shown it and just missed it, but that is there in the version on the gallery. But now the upstairs is pretty much all furnished, so I'm just popping downstairs again to sort out that hallway which I mentioned. So I used that big plant area, which is from the Blooming Rooms kit, just to help fill up space and add a bit of interest into that room. And then the other tables either side are those game tables from Growing Together, which I mentioned. Otherwise, I'm just kind of adding a load of clutter to these back units behind the actual cafe bar area. I really do like that the clutter in here is so minimal so that you can add whatever you want to these shelves and make them look much more realistic. I am also a bit sad though that the coffee machine, which you can see, it's the one that comes from Get Together, that really wide one that you can't use anywhere else except in a cafe pretty much. I couldn't switch it out for the one from Cozy Bistro because I just preferred using that one at the time. It's newer, so it's just more fun to me, I guess. But it doesn't slot to this countertop, so I had to quit trying to use that, and I just kept with this one from Get Together. I was also a little bit unsure on what to put on top of all of the tables indoors. I used candles outside, but I wanted to do something different, and I didn't want it to be too big that your Sims couldn't use the table. That's a bit of an issue that I've seen in some of the restaurants that I've made way before I started YouTube. So I picked this little plant in the end from the Lovestruck expansion. I think it's so pretty, and it's got a few pastel swatches. So I liked the splash of pink that it added throughout, and I think it's small enough that, I mean, I've play tested it, so your Sims can definitely sit and eat at these tables, so it is fine. It's small enough, which is handy. But now we're moving into the final room of the build, which is that glass area. I thought it would be nice and warm for all of the cats, which is why I kind of envisioned that this would be the main room. And then again, there's sort of an open doorway area into the patio that I made at the beginning of the video. Realistically, that doesn't really make sense because then the cats could just escape. But in The Sims 4, that's not really a problem. So I wasn't too worried about that. And again, I just went through and added a lot of these cat condos and then included a few cat plushies as well. So there's actually a little something for your kid Sims to do if they came here too. I did also remember that you can get catnip in cats and dogs. So there's 4 types. I think one of them makes cats sleepy, another makes them mad. I've no idea why you'd want to use that. And then I'm not really sure what the last one does, but I made sure to add a few planter pots in here so that you can use those. But with that, we are now at the end of the speed build portion of the video, so if you have been enjoying it, please be sure to hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. And if you're not already, be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you'll know when I next upload a video. I have got one more that I recorded ages ago as well, which is another renovation. Sadly not for Vlad's house, as I mentioned earlier. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope you have a great rest of your day and Happy New Year. Bye now!